Sebastian is the business development lead at Resolver Group, where he has an opportunity to work on enterprise sales and marketing as part of their Accord online dispute resolution business. Today, without wasting our time, we're going to invite Sebastian to speak with us or give an insight into Accord ODR, giving an insight into understanding of UK dispute resolution. And I'm sure we have our questions ready as we get along. Thank you very much for making our time to be here, even right on time, Sebastian. And you can kindly go ahead. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me. I'll probably talk for about 20-25 minutes. I'll give a presentation followed by a demonstration of some of our products, and then yes, more than happy to take any questions. I'm just going to share my screen and the slides with you. 1 second. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can. Yes.
Excellent. Very good. So yeah, firstly, thank you again for the network for inviting me to speak at today's webinar. As I said, yeah, to introduce myself, I am Sebastian. I lead, as I said, online dispute resolution efforts as part of Resolver Group. And I'm going to talk to you about our work across both complaints and dispute resolution here in the UK over the last 5 years, as well as looking at what's in store for us in the future. Just to give a bit of background on Resolver Group, we were founded in 2014 and had 2 business units that sit under the group umbrella. Firstly, Resolver Consumer, which is the UK's largest independent complaints resolution platform that helps consumers raise and resolve issues with organisations for free. We then aggregate and anonymise that data and provide it back to the businesses, regulators and government departments as a service. And I'll talk a little bit more about that shortly. On the online dispute resolution side, previously known as Decider, Accord ODR is our new rebranded in SaaS platform that offers a fully online end-to-end dispute resolution process for ADR providers, courts and tribunals and law firms. To tie that all up, we're based in London. That's where I'm speaking from you today. And there are about 50 of us in the group, and we're backed by 2 European venture capital firms and have raised about $22 million in seed and Series A funding to date. Firstly, I'm just going to brief you on how Resolver Consumer works. So in the UK, as a UK consumer, I can go to resolver.co.uk, type in the company I have an issue with, to which I will then be asked to self-select and triage my issue from a range of options, and then be given my consumer rights on that particular issue, product or service. I can then be provided with a structured template, so I can clearly explain to the business what happened, what the impact and detriment was, and what the outcome I expect. And as Resolver, we then ensure their complaint goes to the business organisation. We're constantly in dialogue and work with a number of key businesses and organisations to ensure that. Based on our data, we can also then set consumer expectations. For example, I can be notified as a consumer that on average this business takes about 5 days to get back to me to answer my complaints. I will then be provided with a case file and dashboard to manage and store all important information, documentation and communication, as well as any notes, and also provide reminders for when our case can be escalated through internal business processes, all the way up to an ombudsman, ADR scheme, or consumer court. To date, our platform has facilitated the creation of over 6.4 million complaints. Over 80% of the population have visited Resolver in the UK, and 6 million consumers engage with our brand every week, either through the platform or via content we create in the media. We've also supported the resolution of over £750 million worth of complaints to date, and have a 96% rating on Facebook, with 40% of our users coming from personal recommendations. What does this mean for the consumer? Well, compared to raising an issue directly to the organisation, one raised through Resolver, consumers see an average. Is everything okay?
I apologize for that interruption.
No worries.
We're going to have all the microphones said, and then we can get along. Sorry about that, Sebastian.
That's okay. So what does this mean for the consumer? Well, in the UK, compared to raising an issue directly with an organisation, when raised through Resolver, consumers see an average of 21% increase in satisfaction, 29% faster resolution timescale, and customers who are fully satisfied with their resolution are 8% higher. Regarding the aggregated and anonymised data I mentioned at the start, one of the departments in the UK, the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, are a client of ours, and they use our data to understand where exactly businesses and sectors are performing well with regards to complaint resolution and where there is room for improvement. That gives you a brief overview of Resolve for Consumer and the success we've had to date. And it's also worth mentioning we're now launched in India as well, with an office based out of Delhi. Now moving into the world of online dispute resolution, I'm going to show you some of the work we've done over the past 5 or 6 years on our previous ODR product, Decider. So firstly, our journey in ODR started back in 2015 with the Traffic Penalty Tribunal, and I'm going to talk you through a bit about our work with the Tribunal, who transformed their adjudication service, driving both significant savings, both financially and in time and resources, through the creation of the first truly online tribunal in the world. As part of this digital transformation, the Traffic Penalty Tribunal partnered with us back in 2015 to deliver our online dispute resolution platform Decider, branded by the Tribunal as Foam. By combining their adjudication expertise with our ability to build intuitive consumer-facing applications, Decider delivered a best-in-class solution to the Tribunal. Regarding the background on the Tribunal, they provide adjudication for appeals against penalties issued for parking, minor traffic and road offences here in England and Wales. And the Tribunal deals with around 40,000 appeals per annum, has around 30 adjudicators who work remotely, supported by a smaller team. With regards to the results of the transformation, as they moved from a mainly paper-based process to online, they saw a reduction of 85% in postal costs, an estimated 46% reduction in the cost per case adjudicated, $6 million of savings to local authorities over the first 2 years. 90% of decisions are now made online, and we've taken the average case resolution time down from 3 months to 78% resolved in 28 days and 12% resolved in 1 day. I think someone's not on mute as well. Walking down. Moving into the next area.
Sorry, Zeb, to cut you short. Can you slow down a bit? You're a bit too fast.
Of course.
Follow.
No worries. Happy to slow down. So regarding the impact this has had on the wider justice sector in the UK, a presentation of the TPT system and key learnings was given at the University of Oxford roundtable on justice delivery prior to COVID-19 to Sir Ernest Ryder, who's the former senior president of the tribunals, Lord Briggs, Justice of the Supreme Court, and former Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales, Lord Thomas, as well as numerous judicial, academic and corporate stakeholders with an interest in online dispute resolution and transformation from the courts. On some of the recognition and praise the product has received, Resolver and the Traffic Penalty Tribunal won the Excellence in Technology Award at the Transport Awards in 2016 here in the UK, at the Administrative Justice Council Academic Panel in 2019. The Social Entitlement Chamber President Judge Aiken discussed the continuous online hearing process of TPT as the holy grail of administrative justice reform. Professor Richard Susskind at the International Forum on Online Courts in 2018 said that the Traffic Penalty Tribunal is a pioneer of online judging, using a form of continuous hearing that is planned to lie at the heart of the tribunal work. And in his most recent book, Online Courts and the Future of Justice, describes TPT as having the longest standing online public dispute resolution system in the world. And finally, the Right Honourable Lord Carnwath, who is former Justice of the Supreme Court, having seen the platform, stated that he was impressed by both the efficiency and fairness and the effective interaction between the two parties. We then rolled our ODR platform out to the Scottish Courts and Tribunal Service as part of their first tier tribunal to cover penalty charge notices issued by several councils within Scotland for parking contraventions and for 3 councils for bus lane enforcement, meaning that our ODR platforms now cover most traffic offences here in Great Britain today. Moving on to our next major case study, we now move into the world of the Ombudsman, and this time within Ombudsman Services. And just to start with a bit of background, Ombudsman Services deal with unresolved complaints between consumers and companies across both telecommunications and energy. We won a tender back in 2017 to deliver our online dispute resolution platform Decider to them, which was branded as Forseti. The objectives here were to improve both the overall user experience for consumers, businesses and internal Ombudsman users, increase the effectiveness and efficiency of the dispute resolution service, provide Ombudsman Services with data to inform their business strategy and decision making. What were the results of implementing the product into Ombudsman Services? Well, they saw a 30% reduction in telephone calls to their helpline, as users could self-serve and be automatically updated on the status of their case through active and passive guidance. An estimated 23% reduction in the cost per resolved case, a 13% increase in settled cases, and an estimated $3 billion in operational cost savings to date. And that is scaled to support over 150,000 complaints a year. Our next case study in online dispute resolution took us into the world of finance and financial technology, and in this case, the open banking implementation entity. And open banking, in a nutshell, is the framework and infrastructure that allows you to give certain providers access to your financial information, and is revolutionizing the financial service industries in Europe, and is now looking to move across the rest of the world, looking at sort of South America, Middle East, and Asia at the moment. Open banking opens the way new products and services, helping customers and small to medium-sized businesses get better deals. It will also give customers a more detailed understanding of their accounts and help them find new ways to make the most of their money. One effect of this revolution is an increasing number of financial transactions, and that means more customer complaints and disputes. Accordingly, the open banking implementation entity released a tender for a dispute management system in 2018 in order to comply with some requirements in European legislation regarding customer redress. We responded to that and beat MasterCard to deploy our ODR platform into the open banking implementation entity, with the system going into live use last year. The product was customized and designed with the open banking members at the heart of it. It has the ability to securely and safely connect multiple parties at once, and a fully managed solution to resolve complaints and disputes. And I'm pleased to tell you that the 9 largest banks in the UK, so that's Santander. Am I okay? Yeah. So the 9 largest banks in the UK, so that's Santander, HSBC, Lloyds Bank, RBS, Barclays, Danske Bank, Nationwide, Bank of Ireland, and the Allied Irish Bank are all signed up to our ODR platform to resolve financial complaints and disputes in an open banking environment in the UK today. So what does that all mean? Well, all of that work that I've just sort of taken you through makes us the largest ODR platform operating in Europe today, with over 500,000 cases processed through our ODR products and platforms, with over $10 million of savings to date across our client base. So that's what we've all done to date, and now on to the future. So we've rebranded as Accord Online Dispute Resolution, and I'm going to talk to you a bit about our new products and the processes behind designing and developing Accord ODR, to which I'll then show you part of the prototype and the complaint creation module that we built. So regarding our competitive advantage from the work we've done on Decider and also with Resolve a Consumer, it was pretty clear to us that our sort of complaints ADR as a subset of disputes was where our competitive advantage was centered. So that was where we focused. And firstly, we want to look at the role technology and user-centered design can play in improving access to justice in UK complaints resolution. And then there was no doubt, even before COVID, that alternative paths to justice outside of litigation were becoming ever more important. And with regards to complaint resolution, the UK Ombudsman and other recognised ADR providers represent the gold standard, essentially, of alternative paths for citizens to resolve complaints in the UK. Then came the COVID-19 pandemic, and as it's done across large parts of the world, it's had a significant and negative impact on the UK court system, making these alternative resolution paths even more critical, and has also greatly accelerated the expectation and access to high quality online services from an increasingly digital savvy and connected users across all industries, including vulnerable users and those who in the past who may have been reticent to go online in the UK. Meeting both this increased demand and the new baseline of expectation of quality online service delivery is not easy, and it's been a tough year for us, but we're definitely committed and have committed over the last year to support the digital transformation required in the UK Ombudsman and ADR complaints resolution space. Accordingly, our mission for the MVP of Accord ODR is to help organisations that resolve complaints transform the experience by offering an ODR application that makes it simple for individuals, efficient for organisations, and transparent for everyone. How have we done this? Well, last summer we embarked on a customer discovery programme with the aim of finding out how to make the experience simple, efficient, and transparent for everyone, and I'll talk to that more now. So since last summer, we've been working with 8 UK Ombudsmen and ADR providers on and off our customer discovery program, which, as I said, represent the gold standard for complaint resolution in the UK. And that will give us the potential to have about another 500,000 complaints go through Accord ODR in the future. Regarding the design process behind this ODR product, as a company, we've always believed that products built with a deep understanding of their users deliver value quickly, efficiently, and continuously. And at the heart of this customer discovery program has therefore been user research. So the users that are involved in the ADR processes, from complainants to respondents to case handlers, mediators, investigators, and adjudicators, the people who know what the problems, goals, and challenges are, even if they cannot explicitly describe them. And this discovery is aimed at really understanding the Ombudsman users, identifying themes across the market here in the UK, and ensuring the product truly works for all. What we found was that there was sort of a key organisation goal for Ombudsman and ADR providers in the UK, was to provide fair, reasonable, and speedy outcomes for consumers and service user complaints, and to increase access for people to use their service, i.e. access to justice. And whilst it's noting that every Ombudsman taking part in the initial discovery phase has different teams, roles, rules, and remits, there were definitely some clear high-level and shared goals identified through the users, explaining what their tasks were in relation to the provision of complaint resolution services. Through the extensive interviews mentioned with the Ombudsman internal users, we discovered that to support that key organisational goal, the following key core activities needed to be carried out. The first one was evaluation triage. So the users who perform the initial evaluation triage of their complaints in order to evaluate whether the complainant has already complained to the respondent, couldn't resolve their complaint through the respondent's complaints procedure, and determine if their complaint is within their organisation's remits, so they can therefore be accepted into the Ombudsman and ADR process or signposted elsewhere. Goal number 2 was to facilitate an early resolution. So the users who, where feasible, would help the complainant and the respondent come to a consensual resolution of the complaint, mainly through facilitated negotiation or mediation. And goal number 3 was to investigate the complaint and determine the outcome. So where consensual resolution was not deemed feasible or failed, the users who investigate whether detriment has been or may have been suffered, determine whether the extent of the detriment has been or may have been, establish that the detriment relates to an activity of the respondent, and then finally determine any fair and reasonable redress. So when we then investigated the root causes of the barriers, outside of mainly regulatory and legislative reasons to achieving ADR organisational goals, and we found over 700 findings about what barriers exist here in the UK to their performing their key goals. And the key themes were sort of around 3 different areas. One that was through design or potentially accident. Existing solutions have meant that internal users are spending time and effort and therefore incurring costs on unnecessary manual tasks that could be automated. Existing technology solutions were too generic in nature and not designed with Ombudsman and ADR organisational goals in mind, meaning that their internal users were not as effective as they could be in resolving disputes. And finally, communication with complainants and respondents was mainly conducted through email and phone, and therefore there was very limited online access to their full service, and direct multi-party interaction was conspicuous by its absence. We then sort of moved on to look at the solutions to these barriers and associated benefits as part of the discovery program, and concluded with the group of Ombudsmen what potential solutions should be focused on, which can be summarised in the following 3 areas. One was to increase the efficiency and reduce the cost per case through automating unnecessary manual tasks. The second was to increase effectiveness in delivering the right resolution through an application designed to support their users' core goals. And finally, to increase service excellence through direct online access for all their users to the complainants, respondents, and internal users to the full complaint resolution service. Also, aside from the work we've done, it's also been established from existing external resources such as the all-party parliamentary report on consumer protection that there are other various barriers that currently exist in carrying out those core activities, and the recommendations for reducing barriers that can be tied more directly to technology solutions are that providers should commit greater resources to their websites and communications, put the needs of consumers first, pay particular focus to the ease of complaining and the speed at which complaints are processed. Off the back of the user research we did last year, we released an annual informal report titled An Understanding of UK Complaints Resolution, and that's been shared with selected UK Ombudsmen and other ADR providers here, and summarises our findings from the interviews we did with the internal staff users, the 3 user goals, jobs to be done, and the 706 pain points across the market that technology can help resolve, and I just went through the high level points with you just then. Just to come back to this slide, so we've completed the initial user interviews with which findings, as I said, I just took you through. We've nearly finished the prototyping solution and testing that with the users. It's also worth noting, and not something that I focus on today, but we've also built another online dispute resolution MVP for the wider remit of disputes. So rather than just sort of focusing on complaints, which is what this presentation has looked at, and the Singapore government are currently piloting that MVP for the online negotiation and mediation of employment disputes. We're looking at implementing that MVP throughout a number of courts and tribunals in the world. But for the purposes of today's session, we're going to stick with complaints, and I'm going to show you the complaint creation module of the Ombudsman MVP we've designed and built. And we are going to take a look at the Motor Ombudsman prototype. So if I just quickly stop sharing, then we'll be able to see that one shortly. So can everyone see this screen with the Motor Ombudsman?
Yes.
Excellent. So this is the prototype that we've designed, and we're going to take a look at how a complaint might be submitted to, in this case, the Motor Ombudsman, one of the Ombudsmen on our Customer Discovery Programme. So in this scenario, a complainant will have gone onto the Motor Ombudsman website and seen a button saying Submit Complaint Online. Once they've clicked on that, they'll be taken to the Accord platform, which is this, and at the top is some information which is configurable to the client, and there are 2 options below. We'll quickly start by having a look at the telephone option, and then we'll continue by going through the online complaints. So should they request a call, they'll be taken to this page, asking them to be mindful of people who really need to use this, to let them know if they are able to submit their complaints online, then that is the preferred option. We can then ask for their full name, contact number, a brief case summary, when it's best to call, and send the request here. Now to go back and to look at the online complaint flow, we can click Get Started. The first thing we ask is, have they raised a formal complaint, in this case with the garage, but it could be whoever the Ombudsman are investigating. Should they say no, they are then signposted out with next steps, so in order for the complainant to go to the business directly. But if they say yes, we will then ask them when this happened. They're presented with this box, and we will then select December the 21st, 2020. Now, we'll quickly look at what happened. This is not within a configurable time frame. So, there is a required 8-period lapse before EMA can escalate the Ombudsman. So we've been that 8 some automatically in this case weeks to, and we ask them if they received a response from the BIS. If receive response, then continue. But if not, sign and put out that final response from. If the final response continue, but upload that final response they create out. See that. Now, to go back and assume that the time frame is beyond 8 weeks, we will then ask them with which organisation they've raised their complaint with. So here they have the ability to search for all the garages and car dealerships that the Motor Ombudsman can investigate here in the UK. In this case, we've selected Arnold Clark, and we'll click Continue. So there's 3 different options the consumer can choose here. One is that the organisation never responded. One was that their last response was inconclusive. One was that their last response was their final proposal. In this case, we are going to select that their last response was inconclusive. But we still know that they received a response from the garage, so we'll ask them when that response occurred. At this time, we'll select the 21st of January, 2021. So that's it for sort of the Ombudsman screener questions and sort of the automated sort of triage piece. We now know with whom they are raising their complaint with. when they raised their complaints, and an indication of whether they received any kind of response for the business and when that response occurred. If that all looks correct, they can set up their account with their full name, email address, and password, agree to any T's and C's, and can now continue. And they'll be asked to verify their email address, so they can go to the email client, verify that, and we'll be welcomed back into the process here to let them know what needs to happen to submit their complaint. And there are 3 sections, the first of which is tell us about your vehicle, but this is where the specific data relating to any type of complaint would be collected. So here, the complainant completes the following questions. So these are all the questions the motor ombudsman need to ask to adjudicate on this particular case. So whether the vehicle is being used for commercial or business use, the make, model, fuel type, registration number, purchase, whether it's new or used, the current mileage, who the car owner is, and to prove that. So the consumer can fill out all these questions as shown, upload in this case the logbook for proof, and click continue. So that is the first section complete. We'll now move on to tell us what happened. So on the right-hand side, we see the timeline and pieces of information that have already been submitted by the complainant when they received their last response. We can now continue to fill in the timeline by adding events to it. So you can summarize the event to be added here. I purchased a used car and was advised to buy a 3-year service plan costing £972. When it happened, the 25th of November 2017, and more about the event details and any evidence or documentation to support that particular event. We can then add it to the timeline. Now you can see that this event happened on November the 25th, what happened, and in fact they've uploaded documentation to support that. Now let's imagine they've added a few more events to complete the narrative of their complaints. So they've laid everything that's happened from November 2017 all the way up to most recently in January 2021. If they told us everything they can click complete, and the first 2 sections are complete, and they will move on to the last section, which is putting things right. So on the right-hand side is some guidance and examples for the complainant, and on the left, we'll firstly ask them to say how they've been disadvantaged or adversely affected with an example here as well. So this particular complainant feels they've been disadvantaged in 2 different ways. Here they only saved £6 rather than the £150 to £200 advertised, and they had to give up time and energy to research and chase the complaint. And we'll then ask them what they feel is a reasonable outcome to expect, again with an example. And here the person wants to be refunded the difference and also receive an apology for the poor service. If they then go on to review the case, they'll be presented with their whole case back to them and the timeline of events which we've just laid out, and asked to double check all the information is correct, and then we'll then submit that case. And then if we click review, here is what the evaluator and the motor ombudsman would see after receiving a notification that a new case has been raised. On the left-hand side is the case information, including any documents that have been raised. And in the middle is the timeline of events which have been evidenced. And the very last thing, which is putting things right, which is essentially the complainant's proposal for seeking resolution. Based on all that information, an evaluator should be able to get an idea of what happened, when it happened, the responsiveness of the organisation, how the complaint has been dealt with by the business, and most importantly, the impact, detriment, and redress that has been pulled out, so they can evaluate triage. The next module in the product is that evaluation triage before it has a negotiation module, a mediation module, and then finally an adjudication or arbitration module completing the high-level ADR process online. And that is the presentation that I wanted to talk you through today, and a bit of the demonstration of the product. Happy to answer any questions on any of that.
Oh, thank you very much. That went really fast. I'm sure that we can find out from the delegates if they have questions. I'll have a quick look at the chat. Okay, now. Okay, no questions on the chat, but let me find out. Can we then request for anyone to kindly have their hands raised if they have questions, if you have things you would like him to clarify or throw a bit more light on? Any questions? Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Now, I have a question for Chairman.
Hello. No, we have Abiola. Okay. Oh, I thought Abiola wanted to say something. Abiola, did you want to say anything? Abiola Adetola. No questions at the moment. No questions at the moment. Morenica, would you like to say anything?
My question really is as regards to the consumer protection. That was what really was interesting to me. The first level of your work and how that was accepted by the suppliers or the business people. Because for me, I have seen that more often than not, when you suggest to business people around here that they need to have complaint processes along with their process, they just think it's an added cost, not realizing that actually being able to resolve the complaints faster will aid their businesses. How are you able to overcome that and get so many of those suppliers or business people onto your site? That would be
No, that's a very valid point, and it's problems we experienced early on. I think time has solved that problem. You know, we've been around for 6 years now. As we built momentum, you know, more and more have had to fall in line. I think consumer protection is a lot stronger here in the UK. There's lots of acts in place. There's lots of ombudsmen in place. And therefore, if the complaint isn't being dealt with properly by the business, the consumer has the option to escalate to the ombudsman, at which point the business is then hit with quite a large case fee. It can be sort of $500 to $1,000 per case for a case to be escalated to the ombudsman. So it's in their interest to resolve their complaints, you know, in a timely and efficient manner. But obviously, they're going through an alternative pathway, because you could go directly to the businesses. We're offering, you know, an alternative pathway to do that. So, you know, I think there's been a lot of challenges we faced, as you say. It's about sort of them recognizing they do, you know, resolve the complaint with the utmost satisfaction. They can retain the customers. There's a huge cost to acquiring new customers here in the UK. So a lot of our focus has been that they can retain their existing customers, and we've sort of put an ROI and business case together to do that. But also highlighting that, you know, the consumer's chosen to go down this pathway. They are ultimately your customer, and you should respond to them within this pathway. So, yeah, I think it's definitely helped. The consumer protection has been on our side. The ombudsman have been on our side, and so too have the government, you know, in various different ways. So I think that's definitely helped us. And, you know, we're now in India, and we're sort of seeing less consumer protection, so that the businesses aren't exactly as incentivized to respond to the consumers through the platform. So it has been a challenge, but it's just taken a bit of time, lots of communication with the businesses in order for them to see the sort of benefits. And we're now sort of seeing quite a large spike in case volumes in India at the moment. So yeah, I think the UK is a very sort of different setup in terms of its regulatory structure, but we are proving the model in India, which is probably more closely aligned to Africa in terms of consumer protection, I would say.
So it's more of a regulatory thing or a statutory support that has really helped to grow that aspect of the work that you've done in the UK. So
yeah, definitely so.
To learn what India does once you roll out, and then maybe we would be able to learn, since we have similar challenges as they have.
Yeah, so we started in India with the banks, which is probably the most regulated sector. There is a banking ombudsman in India, and the banks are also fined if they don't, you know, respond to the complaints in a timely manner through the Royal Bank of India. So we've started in the most regulated sector possible in India, and once we've sort of established ourselves as the platform, so sort of we hope that people will fall in line beyond that. But it would be my recommendation to start, you know, in a similar sector. Potentially, if banking is more regulated in Africa than other sectors, then that would be my recommendation, to start there, and watch it grow from there, really.
Thank you, Zeb.
Do we have any other questions or comments? questions or comments?
Someone's raised their hand, I think.
Okay, yes, I have Yvonne. Yeah. Oh, Yvonne, you can go ahead, please. Kindly go ahead. You can unmute your mic and just go ahead. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon. Thank you for the presentation. Comment / question. I'm not sure which one it is. It just occurred to me that for a country like ours, where you at a certain level, literacy might be a bit of a challenge. So I was wondering how how literacy, how it adapts to the literacy level, or even a disability, someone with a, say, reading disability or writing disability. Is there some sort of, I know there's an option to call. So do you have trained people to handle people with such disabilities or literacy challenges? That really was my observation. Question.
No, it's a very valid point. We've obviously tried to be accessible as possible with this platform in terms of how it's sort of designed and the simplicity of it. But there's always going to be people who are more illiterate or struggle to raise complaints online. As we just provide the technology, it's ultimately up for the ADR provider or ombudsman to provide that service and train their staff in order to deal with different sort of disabilities or vulnerable consumers. But we've designed the system in order, as you say, to deal with phone calls and posts, so they can write via post or pick up the phone and raise their complaint that way. But it's ultimately up for the clients of this to provide the training and support for them to deal with vulnerable and potentially disabled or literate consumers or citizens. So we've tried to adhere to as many of the accessibility standards as possible within the UK, but there's definitely more work we can do with regards to literacy, but ultimately up to the client to provide the training to deal with that. We don't actually provide any dispute resolution services, we just provide the technology. So we don't provide any mediators or adjudicators, we provide the technology for people to do that.
Thank you.
Yvonne, did that help?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do we have more questions or comments? Well, it looks like they've all taken it in and just waiting to see how it will then work in Nigeria. Possibly.
Yeah, well, so I've got some questions for you. Sort of where is the sort of status of online dispute resolution and alternative dispute resolution in Nigeria? Both from the courts and ADR and consumer perspective.
Could you take that again, please?
Yes, I just wondered what the status was in Nigeria with regards to alternative dispute resolution, online courts, where sort of ODR is in its sort of nascency in Nigeria and Africa. How close are you to sort of adopting a model like this with regards to sort of online dispute resolution?
Mrs. Akiwumi, do you want to answer or do you want me to answer?
You can go ahead, but I just simply will say that we're making some progress, but we know at the same time that we need to move faster than we are on at the moment, but certainly we're making some progress, but we still need a lot more work because of some challenges that are peculiar to our environment. So that's where we are at the moment. But I know that Morenike will probably want to throw a bit more light. Okay, over to you, Morenike. Okay.
Well, it's not like I have something much more different from what she has said, but what you want to hear is, for instance, what is happening in India. India has the backing, has a lot of statutory backing from the Central Bank of India. The government is putting in a lot of money. There are a lot of legislations being put in place. We don't have that yet. I don't believe there's any country in Africa that is in sub-Saharan Africa that is doing that yet. And so just as she said, there's so much catching up that we need to do. But what we probably do most is everyone just thinks once they get on a video call or they're able to use a meeting app, that's how it will work, and that is what it should be. But really, we have not adopted the platforms, especially in the courts, because we don't have that government or regulatory or statutory support like you have. There is a massive revolution in India right now.
Yeah.
But we don't have.
I say sort of our focus for this at the moment is UK, India, and Singapore. For this, definitely maybe looking at the sort of United States and Canada, but yeah, definitely sort of UK, India, and Singapore is our focus at the moment.
Because India has a lot. India is doing a lot right now.
They are. Yeah.
India is doing a lot to ensure, because they have a very large population. They have the problems we have also with the courts. So they're trying to use technology, not only in the courts, but even in ADR, to see how they can deal with the teeming and the population they have. But we are not, we're not in that direction yet, but we're hoping that we will get there somehow. But just as she said, we have some peculiar circumstances around us that we need to deal with first.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, look forward to seeing how everything progresses in Nigeria and Africa with regards to ODR.
Thank you very much, Seb.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, I mean, it's close. I think it's about 50 minutes now. Just a last call to see if we have any other comments or questions. If we don't, we just would like to appreciate you for your time, taking time out and being here early, for the session to start before 5 o'clock. We appreciate that very much. And as we get along, I have no doubt that we'll have an opportunity of having you back. And then you'll be able to ascertain the progress we'll have made in Nigeria. So thank you so very much. And we look forward to having you.
Thank you very much for having me. If
Okay.
anyone wants any questions, they can follow up via email and I'll be more than happy to answer anything.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Have a great evening. And thank you everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great evening.
Okay then.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.